Hello, my name is J Sketch or Sketch, whichever you prefer to call me is fine, up to you. And welcome to my first stream. So today, what's the agenda, you may be asking, if it wasn't already clear in the several posts that I shared on my Twitter to make sure everyone saw that. So what we're going to be doing today is I'm going to be premiering the official motion manga trailer for my official VTuber manga called Enter the Crucible. So, Enter the Crucible is a one-shot that I'm currently working on that is pretty much if Ready Player One had a baby with Sword Art Online. So, it's the idea of VTubers all across the world in an online virtual tournament. And so this is what the story is about. It is still in development as of right now. We're about a quarter of the way through, and when I say we, I mean me. And I'm quite excited. I've been posting about it on Twitter for some time. It's got several VTubers I'm sure y'all are aware of. Weeby Miyu, for one example. We are also going to be featuring some of my personal favorite VTubers, which is going to be Monitor Comics, also called V Comics on Twitter. VTuber name, he goes by Lux Denizen. And then we also got our fiery redhead angel, our favorite of all the angel VTubers, called Serena, or Gold Knight Serena, as she's known on Twitter and also Twitch, I believe. Makashima! I'm happy to see you here. Speaking of my favorite sheep VTuber, hello. Happy to have you. So, that is the agenda for this exact moment. I'm also going to be going into some updates regarding where the manga is at, potentially when it will be released, etc. But without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and hit play. Actually, before I hit play, I just want to confirm: can y'all hear me or hear the audio? So I would love to have this working and y'all hearing it the moment I hit play. I will take silence as a yes, we can hear. Hopefully that's not going to be an issue. But if it is later on, that's why I have the official video going to be uploaded to my YouTube channel. So, also fun fact, the reason the YouTube title or my handle on YouTube is different is because I am going to be, I don't want to say debuting, but debuting as an official PNG YouTuber soon within the coming year. I'm going to start my own streams on here, which is pretty cool. I'm actually excited about that. I've been planning it for some time. But my handle is going to be called Isaac Salazar. And I will explain more on that later. But without further ado, hello Herman. Nice to see you here. Alright, so since everyone can hear me, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to mute myself because I don't want to hear myself when this is going. And I'm going to go ahead hit play. And I'm going to close that real quick. I hope you all enjoy. I just saw that, Herman. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Okay, so I don't know why that is not showing up. Give me just a sec, guys. Yeah. Hello? Okay, so now I see that it's showing up. Alright. When it was playing, were y'all able to hear any of that? Or was it also muted for you? Just want to make sure. I don't know if I need the audio worked? Okay, awesome. And okay, so it's doing a thingy again, I see. So I am not gonna have that at full screen. Instead, I will leave it as is because it's being funny all of a sudden. So I will leave it as is, but let's see. Cinema mode. That's a thing. Is it theater mode, you mean? Ah. How about that? Awesome. I'm glad to have discovered that. Okay. So I'm going to rewind that, and let's just pretend that that didn't happen for the past several seconds. But this is why we prepare for issues as best as we can beforehand. Alright. I'm going to assume that that's right. Okay. Take number 2. And here we go. Oh, okay. Thank you for bringing that up. So, and I do apologize, guys, for the technical issues. I was not sure if it has to be from my desktop. The audio is coming. I'm not sure how to split that up. So, I'm gonna bump that up a little bit, and I'm gonna be quiet. Yeah, Herman. Honestly, this is what I kind of expected. I didn't expect the audio thing though. That was something I kind of wish I planned for. I'm so sorry, guys. You know what? We're gonna learn as we go. How about that? So I'm gonna bump this up a lot more, and I'm just gonna hush up. No, Herman, thank you so much, dude. I really appreciate that. I was worried halfway. I was like, you know what? This is actually not that long of a video. I really hope for the next minute that they hear something. Otherwise, I'm gonna rewind it again and again. So, you know what? I will take this as a rite of passage into the VTuber community, even though I'm a peen YouTuber, but you know what I mean. Okay. Hopefully, that fixed it. And, okay, here we go.
The world of virtual streaming is about to change forever.
Hi, Creo. Mia Moo here with the news. We have reviewed your application and after due consideration, would like to inform you.
Welcome to the Valhalla Games.
This'll be more fun than I thought.
Fun? This isn't a mere game, boy!
Crucible ni hairu.
Okay. I was informed not 30 seconds into that the fan is audible. I am sorry about that, guys. My computer cannot handle me running a VTuber Mini while having OBS going at the same time. So I'm gonna chalk that up to this was a rite of passage, and this happens all the time, and I totally did not plan ahead for this issue, but I hope y'all were able to hear that. Thank you, Neko. I appreciate that you call it absolute cinema. Okay, so this is also going to be, I'm streaming this from the actual trailer page on YouTube, so you can listen to it later on if you want without any of the audio issues that you were hearing, I'm sure. And I'm sure I'm going to cringe at this later when I have to edit this. But that was the trailer for Enter the Crucible. So, I wanted to actually go ahead and pull back a little bit. Actually, you know what? So, to one of the topics I wanted to mention. So, in this manga, all the characters or pretty much all of them in the manga, are actually based on real VTubers. So the only exception is going to be this little guy right here. This is an original character that I'm working on, but every VTuber aside from that in here is an actual VTuber, so I am excited everyone gets a little bit of cameo time. As much as I could have put Herman, you of course have been granted screen time. Now, not everyone in the chat, I'm sure you're aware, guys, were included in the trailer. It's just because I had to isolate certain segments of it, and I didn't want to give away all of that in 45 seconds. So you will just have to wait for the official release to see your glorious cameo. Now, while this is all going to be standard black and white manga, I do think about making a colored variation of it at some point. But that's just something that I'm going to have to think on more in the future. But if I do that, I will release it, of course, that everywhere can be colorized. I actually wanted to mention this. So throughout the little video, there were about like 2 Easter eggs I had put that I thought they were kind of funny. So I believe this little character over here, I don't know how much you can see it. You probably have to brighten it, the contrast on your screen. But this is I believe her name is Amy Lee. I'm sorry guys if I get the names of the VTubers pronounced wrong. I am still new to this whole community. But that detective looking blonde VTuber, I think her name was Amy Lee. I had seen a picture of her and thought, I'm actually going to tease that a little bit. That this character likes VTubers, and that one specifically. So when I was drawing it, I had forgotten that I put like her irises on another layer when I saved it and started working on it in my little app, DaVinci. And the issue is when I was adding color and everything to the shot is that the pupils and irises popped out, so she looks kind of like a little demon or a vampire on the poster, and I didn't realize that till I was already done. And by that point, it had just taken so long to make, so I just thought, I'm not going to go back and fix that, because that requires me to reanimate this whole scene all over again. So hopefully that's not too creepy and no one gets nightmares. But I just thought it'd be funny to mention in case anyone was like, hey, why her eyes be popping like that? But anyway, thank you, Herman. I appreciate that. I also created this little character. So the idea, in case you're not aware, guys, from a universal standpoint, in this manga, Enter the Crucible, there is this organization called Valhalla Incorporate. The actual tournament itself is called Valhalla Games, and that's kind of like this whole VTuber online tournament pretty much. And there's this little character, Miyamu. You can think of her as her mascot, and the character had filed an application to enter the tournament, and here, obviously in the trailer, we see that they got accepted. So that's just what this whole little bit is about. And fun fact, the VTuber Irish Moo kind of inspired the look for this little caricature. And also so did Twitch, with their kind of the way they do their illustrations on their emails, or whenever someone gets made a Twitch affiliate. I always like the artwork they do, so just kind of thinking about that as I was making this little bit. But just so you know, little Easter eggs and thoughts. And let me see if there's any other Easter eggs. There's one other one that I mentioned, but I'm gonna actually let y'all think on that more. So featuring the main contestants in this manga, this tournament, I don't know if I can tell you what, let me go ahead and mute this, and I'm just gonna go ahead and hit this until he actually pulls up. So the 2 main contestants in this little one shot is, this is gonna be fun. We're gonna get there some way. Just bear with me, guys. Okay, I'm gonna stop here. So this is V Comics, or Monitor Comics, on Twitter slash YouTube. One of my inspirations in this manga art journey. So the tournament is between him. His VTuber name is Lux Denizen, and he goes up against Serena, our favorite redheaded angel. So that's just all. They're going to be the first contestants in the tournament. And with this, I just want to let you guys know, well, the idea of the manga is that this is a virtual tournament, and since it's a one-shot, it's more of a peek into this virtual tournament universe. So when it eventually does come out and you do read it, which hopefully you like it, just know that it's kind of like a one and done. This whole manga itself is based on the first match, but the way it ends is going to be a little different, and it's kind of, I don't want to spoil it, so I'm not going to, but I'm going to stop there to say it's just a peek into what this world is like and what potential it has and what, you know, where it could go. The idea of this world is not mine per se. The idea was, I suppose, in this Monitor Comics' little Discord one day, and I saw this VTuber go by the name of the Gorgon, and they were mentioning this idea they had for a story of like, hey, what if there were like, it was like a virtual VTuber contest where it was like a fight to the death. And I thought that was a super cool idea, and I was like, hey, you know what, let me actually draw some art kind of based on that idea, just because it sounds cool, and had the idea to draw Serena fighting, you know, Monitor, but I had them in a different outfit designs. So I just wanted to do something a little more different, and it was just going to be a one and done like little picture. But then I was like, you know what, it'd be sick if it was several panel pages like a manga. And I was thinking it over, and I ended up messaging Movo. It's like, hey, how would you feel if I did this? You know, just because it sounds fun. And I planned a script based on, you know, I got their approval, and it was gonna be like 10 pages initially, just 10-page manga. That's it, just to show them throwing a couple moves. And it has turned out to be, it currently stands at 55 pages in total length, not the script itself, but the manga. And about 22 of those was based on the 10-page draft, I think. Wait, I'm getting that wrong. No, sorry. We're a good 50 pages was based on the actual script itself. But after looking it over, I actually plan on making it a little bit longer, just to cover up some bits I want and give it the best ending I can for what it is. But yeah, this is the total page count we're looking at. And fun fact, because of me drawing VTubers so much, specifically Serena, if you've seen my Twitter page, my account has become an unofficial Serena fan art webpage, which is funny in my mind. But anyway, aside from that, I actually do want to also go ahead and show some of the other VTubers I got to include in this shot. So, fun fact, these two shots, this one right here, along with this one, took a good bit to do. Because with animating, specifically like a motion manga, I have to make everything their own layer. So I had gone ahead and, you know, I did this page a while ago. It was one of the first pages I did. And after I had this idea about making it a motion manga trailer, because I didn't plan on doing that initially, I had to go ahead and cut everything out, make everything its own layer. So moving the arms and going up and down, and with the hair, that was a lot of work. And even like the stands, like little seats, it's all its own layer. But yeah, this has took a good bit, but I actually really like these panels. Speaking of Angel VTubers, we got Magical Bean over here, one of my other favorites. And we got Weepy Mew, our shy weeping angel. I have like 3 Angel VTubers in this one, actually. I don't know if y'all have ever seen this VTuber. I cannot for the life of me remember her name. But if y'all ever see someone who looks like this, please let me know. Go ahead and tag me on Twitter or DM me so I can go ahead and mention them when I release the manga, because I've been trying to find out who they are to let them know, hey, you were actually included in the trailer too. But I don't know their name. So if you can help me out, guys, I would appreciate that. Aside from that, that's kind of what I wanted to mention regarding the trailer. I'm really excited how all this came out, by the way. Just a big fan of that. And especially this panel. I think this panel looks super sick. I wish I could go more into it, but I can't. Another VTuber of notable mention. Believe her Twitter handle is PropsDanny. I don't know if just Danny is a VTuber handle, but this was actually the one of the first shot I did, because I was doing some test panels initially when I was toying with the concept of making the manga with a trailer, and this was the first good shot. I did several, but this was the first official one that came out really well, so I liked it and I included it. And I love these two panels, so I'm gonna let that play. But yeah, the name of the manga itself, Enter the Crucible. or Crucible Hairu, as a good friend Pam was so kind enough to do the audio. Fun fact also, I'm just gonna go ahead and splurge a little bit more into this trailer because honestly, this is such a fun thing to do. It took a couple months to do, and I did this. I actually finished this a while ago, but I was holding off on releasing it because I wanted to get a little further along the manga itself before I showed it. But we're near the end of the year, and this was my goal initially, so I wanted to go ahead and release it. But the voices, Monitor does voice himself in this shot, but the voice actor who does Serena is not Serena herself. It's actually Hannah Chapman on Twitter. She was kind enough to work with me, so I'm actually really happy how this came out. She also does voice the caricature Miyamoo. I love the little accent that she gave Mia. I didn't know if it was, I couldn't really think of a voice at the time, but I was just wanting to do it like, hey, make her stop, give her something that sounds like what she looks like. And she did a great job, so was happy to work with her. But yeah, I had also my buddy Omni work on the narrating for the initial part, and then just the VTubers themselves for the rest of it. But this is it. This is the trailer for Enter the Crucible. It's a solid 44 seconds, but really happy how all of this came out. I hope you guys liked it too. And any questions before we get into the next bit? Thanks, Monitor. I didn't realize you were in the chat. I looked away for a sec. Thank you. Glad you like the expressions. I wanted to make sure I nailed those. I feel like I'm not practicing on those enough, but I'm glad you thought it was good. Yeah, Herman. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just catching up to the chat right now. Goldie has been kind enough to reference me to other VTubers, not the people just looking for artwork. So a lot of connections came out because of this. So I really appreciate this. It's funny how this whole thing turned out too, because with working with Goldie, it started off as a free little bust I did a year ago, and then I did more artwork of him and mentioned to them like, hey, I want to go ahead and do a manga. Can I have you in it fighting another VTuber? And I just kind of went from there, along with, of course, talking to Monitor about that. So that's how that happened. And then I've gotten to go from just doing free stuff voluntarily, because frankly I like the design, to getting commission from her. So I did her character sheet, which was cool. I did some other work for her channel for games. I think she plays Judge's Eyes on and off, so I got to do some artwork for her. But yeah, really excited. And then she referenced some other people to me, so I'm happy to have the work. Were any panels harder than I expected? That is a great question. Within this shot or this video, let me see. For sure, yes, there were some shots that were actually very difficult. Or panels. I mean, let me see. Low-key, honestly, the crowd shots, I inwardly panicked a lot just because with the crowd shot, I wanted it to be kind of more full and not look bad at the same time. So I was just thinking for a good bit. I was actually watching you play with Poseidon on the stream when I was working on this specific panel in the page. But after just messing around with the sketching, I was able to get the kind of position right. I was like, no, it looks pretty full, and I didn't expect to draw like a VTuber or a person within every 2 feet of each other. It just didn't make sense. So I would say this, and also this, just because working on it as I've gotten further and further, I've realized that with drawn VTubers especially, some of the designs can be very intricate, even if it's a simple. So like, I think Miyu's design is not that complicated, especially considering it's really like 2 colors, which is gray and white. But with the braids, with the hair, the way the hair flowing, the little shield emblem, and especially with Beanie having this kind of halo and these little designs in her hair, it goes from being a panel like this where like you have the challenge like, well, it's crowded, how do I make it look more full without losing my mind, and then realizing, well, there's also a lot of details. Also with this VTuber right here, I forgot her name, I'm so sorry about that. I think it was Chiel. She has a bunch of flowers right here in her hair, So it's these two, and it's honestly crowd shots like this. So I kind of just cheat and draw little silhouettes and hope that no one gets upset or notices on that. There was this shot. I wanted it to have a kind of a gruesome look because, without getting too much spoilers, this scene, it's kind of a brutal action. What just happens to Serena, nowhere at all in conjunction with the scene that just happened prior. Wink, wink. But just giving it that brutal look. So I was just messing around with the brushes and just kind of going, just add a little more blotchy per stroke, and honestly, adding that with the halftones and actually using grays instead of just having it strictly black and white like Naruto, it made it come out a lot better than I thought. There are some other panels for sure that were pretty tough to do, but they're not in this, so I wouldn't be able to show you. But yes, for sure there were some panels that were actually quite difficult. There was a page I did recently that involved a kind of a kicking position, kind of like kicking a soccer ball, but a person. But the perspective shot wasn't like what you normally see in a game, where it's like a side shot or a 3/4 shot of the person. It was a kind of almost a bird's eye view, but not. So that one took a bit. So whenever it's a difficult panel, it generally takes me about a day to think on how I want it, and then eventually it'll click. I'll have some reference. I'll get reference ideas from someone else, and then I'll actually do it. I'll do the really rough sketch where it's nowhere near perfect, which is the idea. And I'm like, oh, cool, awesome. And then I'll actually get to work on it. But with that kind of a panel in question, it can take a bit. But honestly, those kind of panels end up being better than I think they were going to be, especially after giving it more time. So I'm really excited for that one. There's another page I really want to do next when I have the time for that. I would love to show y'all, but I can't because that's the whole part of the surprise. But yeah. Long story short, yes, there was quite a bit of panels that were harder than I expected. Let's see here. Also love this logo, by the way. Some of the animes or manga you mentioned in the Discord channel monitor where I got the inspiration from this. So one little Easter egg, well, not really Easter egg, but explanation on the logo. So it's, the title, Enter the Crucible in Japanese right here. But the dice right here is in reference to the actual dice in the game. So I could say this because I posted the first official page on my Twitter a year ago. So with the games, it is not all a 1v1. It's not all a death battle. It can be, but it's based on literally the roll of a dice. So with the first game, the dice is tossed by the host, Cinephon, the VTuber who plays a host, and it lands on solo battle. So that's why the whole manga is a fight between the two VTubers, because that's the game you're playing, so good luck, don't lose. But there's like other games, so if it was to like go further, it could be like a cooking game. That's why there's like a little frying pan here. There's also the solo battle icon here. There's like another King of the Hill. So it's different games, but there's solo battle. There's a potential to do a battle royale or dual battle or team battle, but it's just based on the flick of the dice. Any other questions regarding the manga, the video, VTubers in general, where this is going to go before we go further? Thank you for the questions, guys. I also appreciate it. Okay. All right. So, regarding the time frame of when this will be released, so everyone can read this super cool manga, I am thinking, and I don't want to give a day because I've done it before and I couldn't meet that deadline, and I'm sorry for that, but I'm thinking February it will be ready. And I say that just because with work I have overtime coming up, and I'm also in school, so I have class. But I'm thinking by February we should be good to go to release it. I will release it to a degree on Twitter, but I'll also probably post this on, I'm not sure if I'll do it on Metabang after all, after hearing concerning what they're doing with AI and how an AI manga won a contest, which makes me a little concerned about that. But I will for sure be posting that on Twitter so that everyone can have access to that. I do want to print this out because I like having my work physically in front of me. on paper because I think it's cool. I like traditional comics like that anyways. So I probably will be doing that later on. I'm not saying I'm gonna print them out in mass production and sell it, just because I would need to get permission and talk to the other VTubers who are in this. I've also, by the way, over 30 VTubers in this whole product, which I'm really excited to give everyone some more time for that. Whenever you do see the project, side note, I do apologize if it's not that big of a cameo. I was having to work with what I had, considering the type of scenario and what's going on, but I have made sure everyone gets seen at least once. So if you're seen multiple times, which at least one of you is, then cool, awesome. But yeah, I would like to release it in book format for everyone if they wanted to, but I just don't have the means to be able to reach out to the other VTubers because I don't have everyone's handle also. So I've been working with Movo to get not only the references for what their designs look like, but just their involvement. But it just depends. Some of them are on other servers, and I'm not in communication with them. So that's going to be the issue with that. But I will eventually do that. And I might also, again, do this in color. For sure, I do want to do some more colored pages. I have teased some of that for some of the pages, so some of them are going to have a little bit of a color splash to just add to what's going on. I can't really get too much into that, but so there will be color in there, kind of like how some general mangas have, at least a page or two of color. Not full color is what I'm saying I'm gonna do, but you know what I mean. Anyway, but that is the trailer, and let me see here. Thank you, Herman. I'm glad you're excited, and thank you, Neko. I'm glad you're excited too. Moving on. Let's see. I did think about doing some more shots with other VTubers who are in this to go ahead and like voice it, because I think that's a really cool idea. I don't plan on redoing a whole new trailer, but it was just some thoughts I was thinking on. But yeah, once this does get released, please share it with the world so that everyone who's in it can actually see it and see that they're in a manga. For sure, like Weepy. I really hope Weepy sees it. I know that she did see one of the posts I did, but I hope she can eventually see the video itself to see her doing her thing of being a weeping angel. I will also say, regarding the trailer, I did get some inspiration from one of my favorite manga / anime, Jujutsu Kaisen, so I doubt anyone was going to see this or understand this reference, but I can say this because it's story. I had this mental joke of like whenever Lux Dennison, aka Monitor, does this pose, he's just like domain expansion, just because he's doing a super cool move. I'm actually really excited when y'all get to see this specific point, because I think this is when the manga goes up another level when it comes to the action and everything. So here we'll be going up and everything. Without getting too much into I will actually let this be up to you guys. Would y'all want to know more about the manga? Specifically, would you like a brief explanation of the power system, or would you prefer I keep that hush until you can actually read it? Okay, Herman, okay, Neko, alright. Do explain the power system. I'm glad you asked, Herman. So, it's pretty much based on likes. Pretty much it. So, think of likes as like, I'm not gonna say chakra or chi. You know what? I will actually. Or chi. Or cursed energy, or whatever you want to call it. Every like brings a certain amount of energy or power to a contestant. So as they're going through the fight, it's not just about actually winning, it's actually about winning over the audience, because you are a streamer, you're a VTuber, that's why you're in the tournament. So by winning the crowd over with your awesome moves and your charismatic personality, you can get likes. So it's actually shown in the trailer, so it's not too much of a spoiler. But if you will notice, right here, bam, a heart popped up. That is a like. So whenever a VTuber in the audience gives a like, or people watching the games, because the games are also can be viewed streamed on online, so you can watch them if you're not in the actual tournament watching it or competing. You get the player can get a like, and by culminating that, they can build up on their love energy or likes or fan energy to be able to do certain attack moves or to do certain other cool things. Now, there's a lot of potential for that to be explored. Initially, the idea was that it was going to be like subs, but I thought likes would be a better idea. So that's how the power system works, that you can direct your love, your appreciation, your fan energy to any of the contestants, and once their meter gets filled, that's when the fun really begins. But yeah, that's how the power system works. And then based on that, if you have a full tank, you can do a super sick move. I'll call it a domain expansion, even though that's not what it actually is, but I'm not going to actually spoil that. So it could lead up to what would be on the level of a domain expansion or less, like a Black Flash or a Kamehameha or a Bankai. I've never seen Bleach, don't get mad at me. But you know what I mean. So likes build upon it one another to increase a fighter's energy and power. And then of course once they're low on that or out, they got to rebuild that. So it's a contest of popularity, of winning the crowd, and also winning the judges, because you're competing, and you are competing for a super spectacular prize. But does that make sense? Does anyone have any questions on that? I do plan on doing more videos on this as we actually get closer. I might do one explaining it a bit more of the actual manga once it's done and everything, but it's a pretty simple premise for the power system, but also for the tournament itself. The tournament, I'm of course going to be holding certain bits of information because I want you guys to actually be able to experience it without me telling you over a very tech issue ridden stream. But that's just the idea of Into the Crucible, what it's like. So let me see. Do I plan on making or giving certain people certain defense/attack types? Attack types, what do you mean? Like element-wise, or for example, kinetical? Ah, that's a good question. To a degree. So I will use Goldie as an example because it's what you're seeing. So I'm not spoiling anything. So she obviously is going to be using fire a lot for her attacks, as well as of course melee attacks with using a sword, and of course striking with her gauntlet. So yes, to a degree she would be using it based on her. With doing a power system that's kind of original, or the original attacks, I'm basing it on the VTuber's design, but also the little lore I know about them. A lot of what they're doing is just based on what I've gathered. I haven't been like sifting through different streams to like do a lot more research, so this is just kind of surface level based on what I'm gathering quite easily. So in the case of Monitor, I will refer to him from now on as just Lux. So with the case of Lux, based on what I've seen on his streams, he's known as the Denizen of Light, so he would use light-based attacks or light-based magic. Now, using that as in a case where another character might, let's say, use the same kind of power, then there's going to be the issue. Well, how do I use light against someone who also uses light? So they got to be creative in how they're fighting. But yeah, they're going to have different type of attack elements. So some people would be using elements, some would be using something different. In the case of, let's say, you, Neko, if you were in this tournament, you would be using your ability, which from what I understand is ink. Ink's not necessarily an element outright, but how you use it is up to you, and that could be useful against certain other opponents based on what they are outright using. So by you deducing what their element or attack type is, you can go ahead and figure that out, how to overcome and how to win. But even if you couldn't, then it's about winning the crowd, and that you can use your strategy to figure out a way to beat the opponent, even if they're on the same element type. So that's how that works, and I hope that answers your question, Herman. In the case of you, would it be kinetic, mechanic based attacks? You would be using, for sure, a lot of melee and kinetic. Yeah, absolutely. Because from what I understand, you're a ship gal, so a lot of what you're going to be doing is just, you know, swinging, punching, and using hooks and everything. But how you use it is, of course, going to be the creative part. And in the case with your sword slash claw, then yeah, it's going to be kinetic. For sure, you using your weights as part of your crane to kind of is going to be kinetic, a kinetic type of attack. So you could kind of do something like, or move like how Doc Ock does in any Spider-Man movie, but also using that as a way to increase your speed by shooting those out and then like leaping forward. You know, there's different ways to do it, but yes, you'd be using kinetic slash mechanic based attacks. There were several VTubers I was considering like building lore upon if I was to do more. But with doing this type of creative thinking, I also do want to be considerate of like, well, what does the VTuber themselves actually think? So it's just one of the reasons I was choosing to use two that I actually talk to more. But I have already thought about lore type, how certain VTubers would use their attacks. Like Neko is going to be an example of that. Yeah, ink manipulation, exactly. I would display ink manipulation if I did more of that, Neko, as kind of like how Megami uses the 10 Shadows technique in Jujutsu Kaisen, just because it's like a thick substance, which ink is kind of thick, so I would display it like that. But yes, ink manipulation, that could also technically be considered elements though, because of, you know, water, if you want to go with that. I wouldn't associate it though outright with a shadow as an element, because it's not shadows itself, but it can be similar, you know, in how it's used. Any other questions? Really appreciate the questions, guys, by the way. I love being able to talk about this. It's great. I have so many ideas. I did have one. I'll mention this. I'm not going to say who it's for, because it's also probably not going to get taken off the ground, but I'll mention this anyway. So there was a certain VTuber that I was thinking of using and potentially showing, and their theme, if you know who this is, then you know, was being a mob boss. And so I kind of thought of something a lot more inspired by JJK, of doing something called mob rule, which is kind of like simple domain and domain expansion, where a certain area around the character is under their influences. They are the boss as the mob boss. So we're talking, you know, like subterranean manipulation, or having your goons show up, and it's just different things. But yeah, mob rule is like one idea I was thinking of, just based on, you know, general information about the VTuber themselves. But yeah, honestly, a lot of the type of attacks they would use, I just honestly base it off of their design. So if you're a VTuber and your design's like a kind of ghost themed, I'd probably be leaning a lot towards, you know, that, obviously. Another example I would give, I'll go ahead and this part of the segment on this, for like Makishima, because Makishima's a sheep VTuber. I would say, honestly, based on just what I know, for sure a lot of kinetic attacks and just using enhanced strength. I would also kind of give it her like boost in, you know, speed, charging wise, and just using a lot of that. Probably if I wanted to think more game wise, like if it was an attack where she would like summon the flock, like a bunch of other sheep that were like just as yoked or even more yoked, they'd come and like just knock over their competitor. But just based on the design is where I get the ideas for these type of attacks. Any other questions based on the power system, the direction, the idea, anything? Thank you guys for the subscriptions, by the way. I did see some of y'all sub. Thank you guys, I appreciate that. I do plan on doing more videos on this channel. I'll likely be starting to stream on Sundays at 6 p.m. But if that's it for this part of it, we'll go forward. But yeah, I'm really excited about this. Been something I've been thinking about doing for a while. I do apologize for how long it's taking for this manga to take off the ground. I started this almost 2 years. I think now it's 2 years since I started this project, and it was just going to be initially 10 pages. But you know, things happen, ideas ferment in the brain, and it ended up having more of a life of its own. So it ended up just going from this idea of like, hey, what if there were VTubers in a death tournament, to something like this. So there's a lot more I would love to talk about, but again, I'd save that to when it's actually done, so that you can take a read and go for it, and you know, enjoy it yourself. But this was initially going to be something done within a few days, but now it's, you know, it's gone over 2 years, just because there's a lot of work going into it, especially considering that with a project like this, I want to make sure people know about it. So I've taken the time to market it, as I'm sure y'all seen with the different posts I do. A lot of art regarding Serena for sure, and also Lux, and I do have some more art I plan on doing for them in the future. I'm actually quite excited about the ideas I have going on. But yeah, so hopefully it'll be done by February. I'm not going to post about that just because I don't want that to bite me in the butt later. But I will eventually. I'll be posting like the cover art I have planned, so y'all can see that. That's going to be pretty sick. But yeah, this project has taken some time, but I appreciate you guys' patience and still being interested for sure. I'm sure y'all will enjoy it in its full entirety once it is actually completed. But that's it based on what I got for this segment. Any last questions before we end it? Anything at all? There are no wrong questions. I appreciate that, Herman. This is definitely stretched my ability as a mangaka. I actually never thought I could do manga or like anime art. If you asked me that 3 years ago, I would have said no. I probably would have stuck it to my roots, which was animation based on like Western cartoons, like Dexter's Laboratory, Kids Next Door, and all that. The art like 4 years ago is so different compared to what I'm doing now, but because of just being willing to stretch the challenges like Manga May, shout out to Monitor Comics for that challenge. I've had the chance to be able to stretch. So technically this is my second manga I've done, because what I was doing for Manga May, which if you weren't aware, Manga May is kind of like Inktober, but instead of just a simple drawing, you do a manga page for each prompt every day for 30 days. I had made all of those prompts into one cohesive story. It's not my best product at all. It's actually has so many problems with it, but it was the first manga I did. So this is my second one, so it's a lot better, and I definitely see that I'm growing more and more as a manga artist with each page. So I'm really excited on the direction of the art. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Herman. Yeah, with art, it can be a lot of time that you have to you put into it, but it's with any skill. You practice well, practice consistently, and you do see yourself start to improve. But you never know if you don't try. And I definitely never would have done this project if I never tried a manga. Period. So you'll definitely take the time to think on it and go for it. I mean, because the person you're doing this for is yourself. So don't let yourself down. It don't matter what other people think. You're the artist, and you are the first audience. Alright, well thank you guys so much for coming to this premiere stream of Enter the Crucible. I'm going to start using that whenever I reference the VTuber manga on Twitter. I haven't actually used that name a lot just because I've just gotten used to saying, hey, my VTuber manga, because most people are like, oh yeah, he's doing a VTuber manga, got it. So I'm just going to start mentioning the actual name of it whenever I post any content about it. But I do appreciate it. I know the algorithm's been treating artists like trash lately, unfortunately. But thank you guys so much for popping in. I will post the official trailer video on Twitter later today. But thank you again, guys, so much for joining.